Welcome to another adventure in real estate with the masters of the universe in our own universe. Barnett
I
there, and
thought you were
myself,
going to say with the masters of disaster.
masters of disaster in our own universe. Unfortunately, uh, how you doing, Bill?
I am doing it wonderfully well. Blessed beyond belief there, and just enjoying life, and it's an interesting time that we live in, and getting to absorb and see all of that, be a part of all that. How about you, sir? How are things with you and the
Right there
fam?
with you. Definitely an interesting time to be alive. What's funny is I remember when I was younger, and I used to overhear the older people, concerned about the younger generation, and you know, they're what's going to happen. They're going to ruin the world. They're this, they're going to that. And on one hand, I'm wondering if maybe they were right. You know, yeah, and we're that generation that they were talking about. I feel like we did okay. I mean, we ushered in cell phones and computers and electric cars, a self-driving car. I mean, we ushered in a lot. You know, I am concerned about our future generation that just
Yeah.
keeps their face planted on social media and plays video games all day long. I don't know where the innovation is going to come from when basically their brains are just captured by the electronics that unfortunately our generation created. So
There's I don't know if you've ever saw the movie A Million Ways to Die in the West, and it
yes,
was Seth. I can't remember what his last name is. The guy that, yeah, that created The Simpsons and all of that. But there's a there's a little segment in there where a kid is rolling a steel ring with a stick, and he does that speech. I'm so worried about our children. All they want to do is roll these steel rings around. What kind of adults are they going to make? It's pretty funny. Yeah, yeah. I laugh at the prospect of what if our parents and our grandparents, especially our grandparents, if you're fortunate enough that your grandparents are still alive, may not apply quite as much, but um, my grandparents have been gone for a while. My grandmother was 94 when she died. She was born in 1897. And I think about her reaction to if she saw uh, blue hair, face tats, ring nose. Watched a YouTube in the last couple of days. This woman who appeared to be mid 20s, and that's a really just wild guess. But she had a face tattoo, a solid tattoo that came down to all the way down her face, like she had a mask on, till about right here. And she had a ring nose, and she had the big holes in both her earlobes, about the size, probably the size of a nickel, but she had the trainers in there, so you could tell they were going to get bigger. And her hair was bright violet color, bright purple. And she's and obviously disappointed. She goes, "Well, I'm doing the employment update. I didn't get the job." And I'm just like,
yeah,
no kidding. Who's going to hire you? What are you going to do? Maybe you could go to work in a plant where there's no contact with the outside world, if you will. I'm pretty sure when Martin Luther King said, I dream of a day when people are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I'm fairly certain this kind of doesn't fit into that.
well,
So,
I mean, it was the content of their character that made them make those choices. So
yeah.
I think
So
with Dr.
anyway, I have those concerns as well.
Color of our skin
Um,
that we didn't have a choice being born with. So
but you know what she could do is she could be a real estate investor.
she absolutely could. She could be a real estate investor and she could be a very successful real estate investor because guess what? Money is green.
Yep.
It's money is green. I had this conversation with my wife the other day, and we'll get on to our topic. My wife is Chinese, and we were talking about, how it's funny. A jade tree is called a money tree because it looks like coins and it's green. And the jade that they wear is supposed to represent money because it's green. But traditionally, and even through today, Chinese money isn't green. American money is green. Chinese money is colorful. It's red and pink, and it's got colors on it like Canadian money. Uh, American money is unique in that it is probably the only currency that I've ever dealt with that I know that's green and black and white essentially. There's red numbers on it and there's blue numbers on it, but that's about the only color we have on our currency. And it's
Yep.
funny that jade and chrysoprase and uh, the money plant, they're all represent money because they're green. And it's the American dollar that is green. It's not the other. I thought that was interesting, but money is green, and it does not matter what your hair color is, does not matter what your skin color is, does not matter uh, anything, how you dress, how you don't dress, where you do it from. You can do it, in your underwear at home, or you can do it from a nice office, on the penthouse level. You can be a real estate investor, and you can be a successful real estate investor, and you don't have to worry about other people think or say or their opinions.
Yeah. I've done this many times. I'm sure you probably have as well, where I bought property, never met the seller, never talked to the seller, never met the seller.
Never even saw the property in person. I bought properties where
yeah, you don't have to do that either. Completely rehabbed and flipped the property and never saw the buyer. I can't remember the last time that I physically showed up at a closing. That's like the most archaic. I get new investors that are where they get tickled when they'll be like, I'm going to be out of town for that closing. Yeah. So what's your point? Well, I'm not going to be able to do the closing. Sure you can. You can do it anywhere in the world. Yeah. They're like, really? Yeah. Yeah. It's not a big deal. You may have to go to a bank. You may have to go to an insurance company. You may have to do something like that, but you don't have to be at the closing office. So you look at that stuff, and because I thought about what options does this woman really have, and I thought, being a real estate investor, may not have any interest in that, but being a real estate investor is something that she absolutely could do that has no limitations on her whatsoever. Because let's face it, if it's going to be really hard, she could go to work in a tattoo parlor. Okay. I don't know what kind of income is associated with that. That's an option. She's not likely to be able to be in a traditional mainline clothing store or department store, anything like that. It'd be tough. And in an office environment, might be tough. But there would be no restrictions on her from a real estate agent standpoint. I have bought multiple properties from real estate agents that I've never seen. I know them, they know me. We talk on the phone. That's it. And
we were virtual before COVID. This
yeah.
was something we were able to do before COVID. And I still, and I know you have as well. You're talking about rehabbing properties. I've had properties rehab that I've never seen. I have properties in locations that I don't even want to go to because I just don't have the time and I have no desire to go there because the only thing to do there would be to look at that property. Now, don't get us wrong. Bill and I would probably both agree. If you are a new investor, absolutely make sure you put eyes on your first sets of properties. Yourself, walk the property, know what you're looking at. But once you've got it down, once you know what you're looking at, and it really is, it's cookie cutter. It's puzzle pieces. They either fit together or they don't. If the pieces fit together, and that's whether you're making a profit or not versus what you put into the property. If the pieces put together, then do the deal. If the pieces don't fit together, don't do the deal. But once you understand what those pieces look like and how they fit together, and that's walking your own properties for your first handful of deals until you're comfortable with it, it doesn't matter. You can look at it on the computer. You can look at it on a sheet of paper, and you can say, these pieces fit together. This is a good deal. I'm going to do it. These pieces don't fit together. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to keep looking.
So we're up on a break. And when we get back, there's some current information that's come out in National Association of Realtors about the market and where the market is, where it's going. I think that could be helpful for everybody. So let's take a break and we'll come right back and jump into some market information.
We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching the Investor Guys podcast.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at CaymanK.com.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Limited editions. Unique, exclusive designs. Seek your absolution. Get yours. Only at absolutionx.com.
Thank you for watching the Investor Guys podcast.
The Investor Guys podcast will be back shortly.
And we're back, and today we're talking about so far being able to do things virtually, but we had a different topic in mind. We're going to go ahead and jump into that since this is our second segment. And Bill, I'm going to let you introduce that.
Yeah, so National Association of Realtors puts out some incredible statistical data that's going on in the marketplace nationwide, breaks it down by region, those kind of things that really come in handy for us as investors. And I'll tell you the main thing that happens here is sometimes we get so wrapped up on the stuff that we hear that's hearsay that we lose what's actually happening in the market and we miss opportunity because of it. So one of the things that you'll hear in the marketplace, oh, prices are going down, prices are going down. Well, statistically, that's an incorrect statement. So here's one of the little jewels that popped out from the National Association of Realtors. There's several people up there I follow. Lawrence Young is one of them. He is the chief economist for National Association of Realtors. God, Lawrence been there 15, 20 years in that position. He's been there a long time. And then there's some of their contributing editors that I really like. This comes from a contributing editor, but home prices nationwide are surging. They're not dropping. Median existing home price is up 5.1% from median last year. So it's up to $379,000 national median average. So all the major regions of the U.S. housing market showed price increases. And so here's how single family homes that were sold in January had a median price on those, just single family, at $383,500. That's up over 5% from January of 23. The median price for a condo went from $339,400 up 5.7% from January of last year. So even though we hear, oh, the market's turning down, the market's softening, prices are going down, statistically, that's not true. Will it be? Probably. But that's not, hasn't happened yet. So I wanted to just throw that out there and be careful who you're listening to, both when you're listening about the market in general and when you're learning real estate. Be careful who you listen to. Your thoughts, sir?
I agree 100%. And don't just assume that because there's one factor or another factor that it's going to affect real estate, because that's not necessarily the case. A lot of people just assume that when our interest rates started going up, that real estate buying was going to slow down. In most markets, it didn't. In some markets, it cooled, but it didn't stop. In most markets, it didn't even cool down. It just kept on going. And in other markets, for reasons unrelated to interest rates, it's actually sped up. So there was an announcement a few months ago that Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, was going to be cutting police force. He was going to be cutting resources to schools. He was going to be closing libraries early. He was going to be closing down certain parks. There's a whole list of things that he was going to be cutting out of services from the city of New York because of the migrants. And the migrants have become a huge,
You mean the
huge,
illegal aliens?
yes, the illegal
Yeah,
aliens.
okay. Yeah. I don't give them a migrant status. They're illegal
Last
aliens.
6 months. So when people leave New York, they come to Florida. This is where I am. They come to Florida. And because of that need to get out, and Florida used to be cheap. When I moved here 4 years ago, it was very, very affordable. Prices have gone up in many of the areas where I am. I'm in the Palm Beaches, and many of the areas that you wouldn't even think, they've gone up more than 300% in the course of a year. That's a lot. That is 300 times the price of the house that you would have bought in just a year and a half. And that is because of the demand. And that is because there are people who I was one of them. I felt like I had to escape California. I felt like I had to get out of California. At that time, Florida was a great option for me because it was affordable. It was warm like California. I could live by the beach and have more or less the same kind of weather that I had in California, a little more humidity. But it was a necessity that I was willing to pay for, and I escaped. In New York City, they feel like they're not safe anymore. They feel like they don't want to live in that environment anymore. They feel like the city is falling apart, nobody's in charge, and they need to escape. So they're willing to pay that money to come down here, whether it's rent or whether it is the purchase price of a home. And they all drive each other. If the purchase price of a home is more, then rents are going to go up. If rents are more, then the purchase price of the home is going to, it's just a loop. And don't think that you can look at one factor like say, oh, interest rates are going to make everything slow down. It didn't. Interest rates went up quite a bit in the course of a year and a half. It did not slow down real estate buying. What's going to slow down real estate buying is probably going to be when things stabilize in our country and people don't feel like they have to escape one market or another.
That's a good point.
Yeah, just like real estate in Florida and Texas was stimulated by people escaping states like California and Michigan and New York. In a way, it has stimulated the market in each one of those markets as well. There are more houses available now, so people are buying. People who were renting before, who weren't able to find the housing, are now buying houses in California. They're not buying places in New York. They're now buying places in Michigan. One of the sad things that we're hearing about, and this was partly because of COVID, is there are office spaces and retail spaces in these cities that have been sitting now boarded up. San Francisco is one that I've seen myself, boarded up, and nobody wants them. They're for lease. They're cut rate. I've seen people offering 6 months, even the first year free on a long-term lease, and there's just not the demand for it.
Who would want to live in San Francisco?
Well, it's even.
I mean, you look at what's going on there, kind of like New York. You look at what's going on. Sane people don't want to live there. There may be sane people there that can escape. They're not in a position to be able to move. But you look at the destruction that's happened to those two, and by far, they're not the only ones, but those two cities by idiotic policies. And you just go, wow, San Francisco just used to be one of the coolest places on the planet. And it's a toilet bowl now. And that may be a smirk to, or maybe besmirking toilet bowls. It is terrible out there. So let's talk about when we get back from break, let's talk about some more about demand and about inventory and see where things are and where we think.
And you know what? Something else I want to talk about when we get back. And we've talked about this before. In fact, you've pointed this out oftentimes. There are things that do drive market. There are things that we can count on in a particular market. And let's revisit those things because those are important things that aren't going to change based upon where our interest rates are, based upon where the migrations are, based upon those types of things. There are things that are hard, fast facts that are going to affect the value of where we're buying, where we're looking. We'll discuss that as soon as we get back.
You are watching the Investor Guys podcast.
Absolution X. Limited editions. Lifestyle apparel like none other. Get yours today at absolutionx.com.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at CaymanK.com.
Thank you for watching the Investor Guys podcast.
And we're back. Just before we left, we were talking about market demand and what drives the market. And there are factors that have to do with a solid investment that you're going to find no matter what. Now, one of the cities that is a very blue city that you would think people would be running from is Austin, Texas. And yet Austin, Texas has grown throughout all of this, even though they have very, very liberal policies. They cut back on the police. They defunded the police. There are easily as many homeless people in the Austin area per capita percentage wise as you'd see in the Los Angeles area. And the reason Austin is still growing is, Bill?
Well, you've got incredible demand with a little bit, I always refer to, you have a couple of things that contribute to, I'm going to call it a false economy. It's an economy that really is separate from the real world. Guys, so anytime you have a capital city, you're going to have an economy from a housing standpoint that has stability to it because of the government workers. And that the government is going to go on whether the economy stinks or whether the economy is incredible. The government's still going to go on. So those people have to have a place to stay. And then on top of that, you've got this massive university, University of Texas, this massive university that contributes huge to the economy. Well, not every city has that to the economy of Austin. Not every city has that. Not every city has a small university even. So when you got those two factors, it's going to go like crazy. And then there's also a factor of, hey, it's Texas. Now, those of us that are here in Texas, we don't think of Austin as Texas. We're like, no, Austin is some other planet. It's not Texas. So you get about 50, 60 miles circumference outside of Austin, you're in Texas. But the blue world exists in that little area in Austin.
But you can't do Texas barbecue in Austin still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can still get great music. You can still get great food. But you are having to step over a lot more people.
That was my point too, is Austin has a huge entertainment scene. It is well known for South by Southwest, the Austin Film Festival, 3rd Street, 4th Street. It's well known for all those things. You've also got
6th Street.
Sadly, Lake Travis is drying up and has been for years, but used to be an amazing place to go and hang out for the day when you had a boat. There's a number of places, entertainment venues out on Lake Travis. You've got the river right there. Town Lake, which is a portion of the river that is dammed up, that is just on the south side of downtown Austin. There are a lot of things in Austin that draw people there. There's also a lot of businesses that have moved there. Elon Musk has moved his Tesla offices there. All those people who wanted to work for Tesla are now living in Austin, not necessarily because they wanted to escape California, and not necessarily because they wanted to be in Austin, but because that's where their job moved them to.
Because they want to keep their job.
He paid for them to move. So there's different factors. One of the things I always cite was, I remember San Antonio 20 years ago when they were building the Nissan factory and the Toyota factory on opposite sides of the city. San Antonio real estate was blowing up because people knew that they were going to be able to get a job at either Nissan or Toyota because they were building two huge factories there. Yep. So a lot of people were looking in the San Antonio market. They were buying houses, but they were also renting. Now, again, whenever the market is moving, we're going to see rents and we're going to see housing prices changing because of that. We're going to see the demand for both of those. And whenever there's a demand, we're going to see those prices go up. So there are different things, there are different factors that drive real estate that we can put our thumb on for sure. If we've got a huge factory moving into a market, I promise, I guarantee you that that market is going to be getting busier. I remember probably 15, 20 years ago, they were going to be putting in a new college campus just south of downtown Dallas, just south of the zoo, in fact. And at that point, there were a lot of home builders putting in homes, Lennar, D.R. Horton, everybody else, because of that campus. I don't know if that campus ever happened or not, but the real estate market in that area, that particular bubble just south of the Dallas Zoo, was crazy. People were spending considerably more in that market because of the campus that was supposedly going to be moving in there in the next 3 years. Those are things that we can put our finger on that we can say that is going to drive the market. Are people still going to buy properties in an area where they're building factories if the interest rate is high? Absolutely. Are people still going to be buying properties in an area where they're moving in a new college campus? Absolutely. Are people still going to be buying properties in a market where a major company like Tesla and other companies have moved their offices because they're going to have jobs? Absolutely. They're not looking so much at the interest rate. They're looking at, do I want to get into a house now, or do I want to risk that the price of the house is going to go up in the next 4 or 5 years when interest rates may or may not go down? Do I want to live in an apartment with my 4 kids and 2 dogs and 3 cars? There's a lot of different things that go into those decisions, and that's what we need to factor in when we are buying real estate. Now, that said, I don't have a problem with buying real estate in a cool market if the puzzle pieces fit, if the numbers work. Because even in cool markets, there are still people who live there. There are still people who have to have housing. There are still people who are going to buy houses. There are still people who are going to rent houses, rent apartments. It may not be the same kind of demand, but what we lack in demand, we usually make up on getting a good deal, because if it's a cooler market, we can usually make a better deal. And we may not get the same kind of pow and oomph and wow factor that we're going to get in an area that has a lot of demand. But again, if the pieces fit together, if we're making money, then do the deal.
Yeah. I tend to shy away from smaller markets, which could be considered cool, but smaller markets, because I like that bigger pool of buyers. But competition is still fierce. And here's some comments I want to give you about competition in the housing market, because one of those other things that we've heard is that, well, we used to be able to get multiple offers. Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. Well, National Association disagrees with it. Multiple offers are still common on mid-priced homes. Many homes are sold within a month. Lawrence Young says further, he notes that the elevated share of cash deals, now cash deals are up to 32% of the market. That is a huge number. Cash deals up 30% indicate a market full of multiple offers and are propelling record high housing wealth. So what's happening is people that are looking at, how can I differentiate my offer from everybody else? One of the ways to do that, if you're in a position to, if you're a homeowner, is to go with a cash offer. If you're an investor, if you put together private money, you can make a cash offer. Now, look, I have investors, especially new investors, try to do this. Like, oh, this is going to be a cash offer. I'm like, well, great. Let me help you structure that. Then I find out they're using hard money. It's like, that's not a cash offer. Okay. That is a third party financed offer. And you can't go into a contract saying you've got a cash offer, because the first thing that's going to happen is the agent, either your side or the other side or both, is going to ask you for proof of funds. Okay, so show me where the cash is sitting. You don't have to give them account numbers or anything like that, but they want to see a statement that you're buying a $600,000 house. They want to see, if you're saying you're doing this cash, where's the $600,000 sitting? So when they find out that you're getting hard money, that's not a cash offer. Okay, so if you're in a position to make a cash offer, that is a great differentiator for your offer. Both of us have bought property on cash offers where we offered less money on the property than another buyer, but the other buyer was financed. And the other buyer financing can fall out at any second. And about the national average is 20% of all real estate contracts fall out, and they fall out because of financing. So if I've got a cash offer, my offer is actually more valuable, even though it may not be the same number. Now, I'm not talking about, I can get it for $30,000, $50,000 cheaper on a $500,000-$600,000 house because I'm offering cash, but I certainly might be able to get it $5,000 to $10,000 cheaper.
And the key word you have to remember here is contingent and contingency. Okay. The more contingencies you have, more things that are contingent upon you doing this deal, the less appealing it is to the seller and to the seller's agent. Now, when you are getting financing, it says contingent upon financing. So when it's contingent upon you acquiring financing versus you already having financing, they're going to say, well, that contingency outweighs the fact that the other buyer is able to pay cash. I see a lot of times they'll say contingent upon seller selling current residence. Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
tough one.
Yeah. Why would I want, as a seller in a hot market, as an agent representing a seller in a hot market, why would I want to recommend that they wait for them to sell their house before you can sell your house to them?
Yeah.
When you likely have other buyers that need a house, they don't have a house, they don't have to wait for that house to be sold. If that's something you have to write into a contract, I would seriously consider. And back in the day, it happened all the time. But in this market, if that's something you have to write into your contract, seriously consider going ahead and selling your house first, finding short-term rental while you look for your dream house, and going that route. Because if it's contingent upon you selling your house, best case scenario, you sell it tomorrow, you're still 30 plus days out from having the funds to go and start this particular deal. And you're another 30 days out, best case scenario, before you're moving into that unit anyway. So you might as well go ahead and find short-term housing for 6 months, get your property sold, and start looking for other deals as soon as you do that. But any contingency that you have in there, no matter what it is, any contingency you have in there is a red flag. And the more red flags you put up in there versus your other offers that are coming in with, say, no red flags or fewer red flags, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to go through with that deal.
Yep.
So,
well, hey, just want to thank everybody for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. You're the reason we come. I mean, actually, you're one of the reasons we come. Bill and I love just sitting here talking to ourselves about real estate. We enjoy it. We have got comments. I do love that you guys are watching, and I do love hearing that you guys enjoy the show. All of our shows are at investorguyspodcast.com. We are working on redoing them, re-editing them, making them a little more pop. They're also, I don't know if I told you, Bill, they're also going back up onto YouTube. We only put the first few on YouTube. I am working on literally every single one of them on YouTube. We're also on Rumble. You can find all of them on Rumble right now. And again, you can find all of them whether they're on YouTube or Rumble. You can find the videos for all of these on our own website, investorguyspodcast.com. And if you're listening to us in the car or on your phone or anything else, you can find us on virtually every single podcast channel that there is out there. We're there. So I can't think of anyone that we're not on. So no reason not to take us with you. You don't have to look at our fabulous mugs. You can just listen to the audio in your car. Either way, we hope you get something out of it. We enjoy being here. We enjoy doing the show. We enjoy hearing your feedback. You can contact Bill at investorguyspodcast.com. Contact me at kevin@investorguyspodcast.com. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you guys back here the next time. All right.